Greetings, thank you for joining me. I want to begin by thanking my regular viewers for bearing with me. As you know, I'm not one of the routine YouTubers. Smash the like button, subscribe, happy Equinox star seeds. So thank you for allowing me my own way and style of delivering this content. It is selfish and it is also not selfish. There is an overall direction, lesson, if we could all learn this together, that would make my entire lifetime fulfilling. And that is that we can honor our humanity, our feelings, our flow, and our own way and pace of operating. I want to personally thank those of you who do not hold on to other human beings the expectation that they should be more machine-like than human because of their job title. And this is a common thing I see out there. You're a shoe salesman, give me shoes. You're a burger flipper, flip me burgers. These are human beings, and I especially thank those of you who are understanding of an organic human being, regardless of job title, career, function, societal mechanism. Thank you very, very much. I also want to deeply thank my personal supporters, those who are paying members on my community of bought readings from me. Thank you. Have been able to live and am currently still able to live due to your support. Thank you very, very much. I am a passionate astrologer, which means I'm passionate about understanding the meaning of life, as well as understanding the mechanics of life. And in these videos, we talk about both. We are at a very particular moment in time here. So several days ago, September 22nd, was in the northern hemisphere, the autumnal equinox. In the southern hemisphere, this is the spring equinox. Okay. Now this is the zodiac, the sine wave on the face of the earth, the ecliptic, the relationship between the earth as it revolves the sun on its axis creates these four fundamental turning points, these four fundamental seasons. And what this equinox point is the moment the sun enters the sign of Libra. So here's a little explanation. The tropical zodiac is based off of the sun-earth relationship and not the constellations. It amazes me the amount of NASA scientists challenging the notion of astrology through the obviousness of precession, the fact that the constellations have moved, and these NASA scientists are not critically thinking enough to even question the fact that constellations are not physical objects. They are man-made drawings. So anyways, the tropical zodiac is based off of the sun, earth, seasons. And the reason why the equinox is such an important turning point is that we are leaving one season and we are entering into another. The glyph for Libra is the sun on the ascendant or the descent, the horizon. And what this indicates is that we are in the time period where we are even day and even night. Now, several days from now, September 25th, we will have our new moon at 2 degrees, the sign of Libra. Now, the moon-solar relationship and cycle of all planetary pairs is the most personal, is what we really feel and experience in our personally lived cycles. So, as I mentioned, there is the tropical zodiac. There are these 12 signs, these 12 seasons. In every single season, there's a different mode, a different function, a different behavior that we go through naturally every year. The lunar cycle is what anchors that solar energy into our personally felt experience. So this new moon in Libra is what's going to really initiate this fresh equinox energy. Okay, this is going to really bring us into the Libran season. Now, what makes this particular new moon, this particular moment in time, unique, I will now share. And the way that I do these videos is we're talking about general 2-week increments of time, generally around the times of the new and the full moon. This video is being filmed several days before the new moon. These several days before the new moon is actually some of the most important astrological timing of every single month. And that is because just before the new moon, we review the entire last month. There may even be a subtle or not so subtle re-experiencing, remembering, or repetition, so to either see what loose ends are untied, tie those loose ends, but summarize what the last month was, that then leads into a transformation, a breakdown, an alchemical movement into the next sign, or into the next lunar cycle, initiated by the new moon. The several days before the new moon is the time for this introversion, this reflection. It's the time of working magic. It's the time of taking what we learned in the last month and now sowing a new seed intention for the next forthcoming month. And that's what we get to use in this lunar cycle. Okay. Now, new moon in Libra is usually a time where we're more socially extroverted. I'm going to talk about how this particular Libra season we might be a bit more introverted. There's a very unique signature happening in the sky momentarily, and that is that we had the last several weeks Mercury in Venus's sign of Libra, Venus in Mercury's sign of Virgo. They were in a mutual reception. And now they're going through a crisscross right on the Virgo-Libra axis. Mercury retrograde has just began its new cycle past the sun yesterday, and it's now moved back into Virgo. And then in the next several days, Venus is going to pass Mercury and move into her own sign of Libra. Now, this crisscross is going to create the effect as if there is an increase of both the mercurial analytical awareness as well as the sociability, sharing, and the need to learn through the mirroring and the experience of others. We talked about how this is perfect. Get your psychotherapist appointment in the last video. This whole time period has this theme. But Mercury retrograde in Virgo is analytical mental reflection. We're talking about the brain, thinking, communication. How we connect the dots is in a highly introverted and scrutinizing form right now. It's highly aware, highly analytical, highly scrutinizing. And the way that this can be experienced is it just simply is not up to par. Something is off. Some connection is missing. This is not what we were expecting. In fact, there's a degree or a quality that we were aiming for that is clearly not what's playing out. That's part of this theme with this Mercury in Virgo. It's highly analytical, scrutinizing, but it's going to notice and kind of break apart, drill apart what's not working, evaluate it, give it a grade. And this is where we all have to simply be humble, flexible, forgiving, of course, very loose with our fantasies and our ideals. Today, Venus is exactly opposite to Neptune. That creates an interesting dichotomy here because we're looking at our ideals and our dreams and our relationships and romances and creative projects and spiritual connections. And it's like, you know, what is this? Are we embodying it? And with this type of Venus-Neptune signature, there can be confusion, there can be uncertainty, as much as there can be this romance, this rose-tinted glasses, and a kind of wispiness and an uncertainty. But I have to say, overall, this is not a time where a lot of people are getting swept off their feet. I think this is a time where the clarity of what's not working, the pieces that we are working with, and the amount of time, patience, practice to get it all together is more the underlying experience and theme right now. I've also had so many messages filling every single social media, email, whatever, asking me, you know, what do I think of the equinox? What do I think of the rest of 22? You know, what's gonna come for humanity? And I'm going to be totally honest with you right now. The reason why I think all of my messaging are getting filled with these messages is because the collective unconsciously feels what's coming. And we're all starting to squirm. It's uncomfortable. It's not easy. It is challenging. There is a lot of darkness that humanity is going to be facing in the months, in the year to come. And as we're at this turning point, and we're at the equinox, this is where we do have an opportunity to see over the next corner. And I have to admit, I have concerns for our species. I have concerns for governments. I do not have trust for our current leadership, how they handle money or resources. And I do not think that our collective has a very good ideological comprehension of money or resources that would make such a time of unpredictability and bumpiness more than just unsettling, but also scary or potentially dangerous. So anyways, that's not what I'm saying is happening today or tomorrow. These are some of the long-term themes that I am expecting our entire species will be looking at in the months and the years to come, particularly at the end of 2022, because we'll have the winter solstice generally around the time of a south nodal Scorpio solar eclipse. Okay, now I mentioned that mercurial analysis is being dialed up. So is Venus in Libra, an increase of sociability, sharing, collaboration. Hi, how are you? What do you want to make? What do you want to share? What do you want to teach? It is the time to be asking these questions. It is the time to be forming these plans. It is mostly a testing time. So it's a questioning, testing, trial and error. And it's just beginning what we're forming, these projects, these collaborations. It's far from complete. So this new moon in Libra, opposite to Jupiter, it's revealing, it's enlightening, as much as it also can be annoying, itchy, and far from ideal. It's being ruled by Venus in Virgo. The Virgo-Pisces polarity is where we confront this reality that the realm of ideals and perfection and the realm of this world and our human bodies and experience are not the same realm. And so we don't live perfect lives. We aim towards ideals, but if we expect to achieve perfection, we oftentimes experience disappointment. So right now, it is more than just okay. It is necessary for things to sometimes fall apart. This is a time where things can fall apart. It's not working. It's not up to par. Everyone blows up Mercury retrograde for the same reason I began this video. It's like we expect ourselves to be these machines that perform these routines perfectly every time like clockwork. And this isn't even how the clockwork of life works. It's far more organic than this. So the point is, sometimes things need to fall apart. It's not what we want. It's not what we would necessarily choose. But there are so many routines that we assume unconsciously. And there are so many unconscious expectations that we form. And it's just like we bang on the vending machine. Come on, vending machine, work. I put my dollar in. I want my candy bar, And if the vending machine doesn't work, it can upset us. The vending machine is supposed to perform its function. I put the dollar in, the thing comes out. It's a time where these things are falling apart, but where we can use the falling apart, even the experience of disappointment, changing of plans, trial and error. It's an opportunity to let go of these unconscious assumptions of how things should be. And what can come in the wake of that is improvement. Improvement. You put another dollar in the vending machine, and then the vending machine accidentally discharges every single candy bar, whatever it may be. The point is that we can improve things through an openness of allowing the dissolving in the expectations to simply lead us into a period of experimentation, trial and error. And so my magic key phrase for Virgo, all my south nodes in Virgo, south nodes in the 6th house, Pluto in the 6th house, people, please remember, it's not failure, it's feedback. We can let go and take it easy, and sometimes that's actually the best thing that we need. That's the best thing that we can do. Now, these lunar solar cycles, as I've mentioned, this is actually the mechanism of life. The moon's nodes is what catalyzes eclipses. We're going to have our next set of eclipses in October. We're about at our halfway point between eclipses. When we were in Leo time in August. And this is a part of what we're collectively feeling, is we're feeling the incoming solar eclipse in Scorpio that's several months away, but we already can be tuning into what that means, what that is, the evolutionary lessons that brings, which will be, and this is an inevitability, there will be a collective reviewing and remembering of humanity's shadow. Fears, death, the unknown, the occult, what is beyond our comfort zone. Okay? Those in some way, shape, or form, every human being, we will be experiencing evolutionary lessons that's going to allow us to embrace life for what it actually is. And where this will lead us is a greater appreciation for what we have, who we are, where we are, this moment. At least we have this moment. I will also add, this is easier said than done. My tone is pretty transparent. This is not a stereotypical new moon in Libra, as I mentioned. There's also a particular planetary aspect that this new moon forms. With a sesquiquadrate, that's the 135-degree aspect to retrograde Saturn in Aquarius, and a sesquiquadrate to Uranus retrograde in Taurus. This is called a finger of the world aspect, and it brings about a tremendous creative tension between the seed that wants to be sown in Libra, which is equality, justice, it's fair, it's nice, it's not too much, it's not too little, it's just right. We have each other's backs. Give and take in even, reciprocal, mutually supportive ways. This is what Libra and Libra souls are all about. Okay? Libra's like, we've got a lovely date planned. We're going to talk about the things that we love. We're going to pull out of our treasure chest all the things that we love, and we're going to have a lovely show and tell. We're going to have a beautiful date tonight. But Sesky Square to Saturn and Uranus. Well, we have this date planned, but there's a union protest at work, and so I can't really get in the door to pick up my last paycheck. And it would cost $10 of gas to get in the car and drive there anyways. So maybe while we're having our healthy dinner of beets and potatoes, we'll be talking more about how we can save the world from a humanitarian disaster that appears to be inevitable, rather than just what the next Marvel movie we're going to see in the theater may be. Now bear in mind, this is the theme of the new moon. The new moon sets the tone for the entire forthcoming month. And that's why we want to be working with these lunar cycles very consciously and very intentionally. Again, the several days before the new moon, like if we could have a perfect world, if you could make your own schedule for your job, I actually highly recommend to have the days off in the several days before a new moon. This is Pisces, meditation, spiritual retreat, go into nature, but this is the time to digest and reflect. Before the new moon, which is like a moment and a snapshot, you could say a key frame. I used to be an animator, so there's key frames. Like if I'm going to move my hand, I'm going to start here and then point over here. This would be a key frame. This might be a key frame, and that might be a key frame. You draw those, and then you fill in the in-between frames, okay? Because these are the major points. This is what's showing what's going on. We could have 3 pictures with nothing else, and you would see that movement. But to make life what life is, there's all the flow that's in between. So the new moon, it's a key frame. It's a snapshot. It's a moment in time. And that frozen moment in time is there. It colors, it tints, it shades the entire forthcoming month. The entire month will have these evolutionary themes and lessons. And you can put the new moon into your own birth chart, see what house that new moon is in, see what aspect that new moon forms to the rest of your chart, and that's going to be a snapshot of time for your unique and individual month. The whole month will be colored by whatever house this new moon is. See what 2 degrees of Libra is. Whatever house that's in, you can guarantee the archetype of that house is what you'll be exploring, experiencing, and learning through the forthcoming month. Okay? So that's I think, our new moon equinox summary. Okay, Mercury's going to station direct, 24 degrees, next weekend, October 1st, opposite to Neptune. That's on, again, October 2nd. So Mercury stationing direct, opposite to Neptune. Again, it actually brings a fair degree of clarity between the distance of where we are and our ideals. Where we would like to be, where we are, what we have, what we're working with, we're measuring, and what this Mercury can do is bring clarity. Okay, it's the time to draw a map. It's the time to create a schedule. A, B, C, D. It's the time to lay a table of contents. This next week, last week of September, there's a really beautiful momentum. Okay, a lot of switch up going these last couple of weeks. It's honestly been challenging for a number of souls from what I've heard and experienced. This next week, Monday the 26th, Venus trines Pluto, the 27th, Mercury trines Pluto, the 28th, Mars trines Saturn, and there's a bit more opportunity to find a groove. Okay? It's like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. All right, it may not be perfect, but you do this part, I'll do this part, and it comes together nicely, and there's a momentum that can be picked up here. The Mars trine to Saturn's very nice as well. Like if you've been feeling stuck, lack of momentum, lack of motivation, this Mars trine Saturn and asteroid Vesta stationing direct can bring a much greater increase of focus, motivation, willpower, to direct, lead, get stuff done. Now, the other major astrological transit that I would be a total failure of an astrologer if I forgot to mention is the fact that Saturn is going to square Uranus for the second and final time for quite a while on October 4th. And this Saturn-Uranus square is one of the most important, underlined, highlighted transits of 2022. It's what makes this year, is Saturn square to Uranus. And even in my tone, the experiences that many of us are having, the tensions with society, job, career, livelihood, stability, how it's all interconnected to these greater bureaucratic powers, organizations, cults, these very what can be biased or pretentious means of evaluation that can be quite hierarchical but dry, objective, uncaring. Every human being's got a job to do. We've got a job to do. We've got bills to pay. I mean, that's the pressure that we're all feeling. And this Saturn retrograde square to Uranus is a breaking down. This is a societal breaking down. This is an economic meltdown. We are starting to see it creep up to the surface. It has not yet landed. I think a lot of why I'm getting these messages, where's the Equinox video, is because y'all can feel it, and we can see it, and we can know it, and it's as obvious as day. And people laugh at me because they're just like, you call yourself an astrologer, all you do is watch the news. But this is Uranus conjunct the North Node in Taurus, square to Saturn. Saturn will station direct at the end of October, also in a pretty tight square to Uranus. But this is the last exact Saturn-Uranus square on October 4th. And we're all feeling what is a breakdown of societally conditioned consciousness. It isn't even just our job or career. It isn't even just nations and diplomacy and how we're exchanging resources. It is the very structure of our consciousness itself is breaking down. And it is where we have had societally conditioned consciousness that is limiting the possibilities, the potential of our fully liberated nature. That's where there's a meltdown. So the very easy global example is there has to be a breakdown and a meltdown of oppressive bureaucracies before, and maybe simultaneously with, the revolutionary uprising, revolt, fighting back that changes those laws, rules, bureaucracies into being something that's actually humanitarian. And that's what the astrology says, is that that's the potential. This is what we would actually be getting to. If we could, as a species, hit the nail on the head, this would be about liberating ourselves as a species out of prison and coming into a very, very progressive, a very different way of dealing with energy, resources, and exchange. It would involve us moving out of a steam and gasoline-powered technology phase. It would involve us bringing the internet and these technologies into our lives in a way that would create a fundamental new way of doing exchange. So, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is an example of this. This is a revolutionary basically just idea that we can have a way of exchanging resources that exists outside of government bureaucracy. That's what the whole ideal of cryptocurrency is. And again, let me remind you that this is a time where we can very easily see the distance between where we are and the ideals. Let me give you another easy example. I live in the United States of America. So many of my perspectives, biases come from my American upbringing. And I will tell you that we are extremely idealistic in America because we, in our culture, believe ourselves to be more progressive than we are. And so we would love to believe that we are beyond the period of war, that we're beyond the period of military drafts enlisting young men to the front line to be sacrificed for oppressive regimes to conquer land and take over territory. We in America would love to believe that we're beyond this phase of war while we have our drones shooting up and dropping bombs on countries behind the scenes, not being filmed and not being documented. I have a very genuine concern for our species' well-being. I have a very genuine concern as we're going through the Saturn-Uranus square, which is a breakdown of this old oppressive way. Can we get through this period? Can we see the light at the end of the tunnel? Do we have the solutions, the technology, the truly humanitarian, pioneering people, right? Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, right? Just like cryptocurrency, a revolutionary idea that governments should not have the ability to oppress their people by hiding information that should be open source. That's the idea behind WikiLeaks. Do you hear about the founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange? Do you know where he is right now? Do you know what's happening to him right now? He's in some United States detention, probably experiencing severe mental and physical torture behind the scenes, unknown, not being seen or documented by anybody. If we want to start changing things, we're going to have to start paying attention to what's actually going on. And again, I am simply sharing this as a foreshadowing what's actually going to be, the next several months. But when we're looking at the solar eclipse in Scorpio, this is the stuff we're talking about. Okay? There is a humanitarian crisis that is inevitable. We all are going to have an opportunity to move through this. It's not the end of the world. This is where the Taurus is the antidote. Local community. Grow your own garden. Sit in the sun. Get your feet on the earth. Wake up with the sun. Go to sleep with the sun. There's actually only a few simple, bare-bone things that we need to be very well taken care of. We do have these things in our immediate environment. It is not the end of the world. It would do us very, very well to lead in that direction. The other part of this new moon, again, this new moon actually is forming semi-square sesquiquadrate to the moon's nodes. So this is not stereotypically social. Moon's nodes and Taurus, Scorpio is like, I'm going to hide. So a part of this has this tension, which is like, why do we have these standards in relationship? Why is it considered polite that I stick my pinky out when I'm drinking from a glass? Like I was talking about my own culture of the United States, there can be this theme of like, shit, this culture sucks. This situation sucks. This world sucks. We are being left with the burdens that were passed off from our forefathers, where they were negligent, and we are picking up those pieces. And folks, if we don't do the work, we're just going to leave it to future generations. That is the time we are in. These next couple weeks, it's just like smoke in the air. The horizon is red because of the forest fires. You know, this is how it is in California. This is like everyday life for a lot of people, but it's going to feel this way collectively in the energy, especially for my sensitive souls out there who tend to have a little bit of the heads up. I personally tend to notice that I have my panic attacks and freakouts not when the shit hits the fan, but when that shit is starting to creep in. Not even once it's creeping in, but when it's starting to creep in, it's just like, uh-oh, what's that? And then it starts to work its way in. Then we see it's like, okay, well, it's a phase, it's a cycle, it's all meant, it's all okay. Okay? So y'all asked what's coming through the rest of 2022. That's my summation. I hope that you have a wonderful equinox time. I hope that you do have an absolutely beautiful, wonderful, loving, harmonious, inspiring, creative new moon. That is the potential of this new moon. We can inspire one another through the heart. And the way this is going to look is that there's going to be a lot of scary things and depressing things out there in the world. We all need to be careful with our connection to social media and the news and these things. We can all become oversaturated, and that can be a real danger of becoming a downward spiral for our soul. So let us remember, my friends, my family, lovers, associates, fellow inspirational souls, we can inspire one another. We can provoke the upward spiral for one another by reminding each other, I'm still here. Your family's still here. We still have everything that you need. I know it feels like you fell down and you picked yourself up 100 times and you just fell down again, but it is okay. And you will pick yourself up again, and you can lean on my shoulder. And we can take turns. And we can be human beings that have lights and shadows. We don't need to be afraid of either or. We can work with life holistically. We can learn to listen to one another. We can learn to take turns. I just spoke for 40 minutes straight. You can receive that. You can transmutate that. And that can turn into something else that you can put out there back into the world. And again, I want to thank my supporters. For those of you who in any way, shape, or form, there's been quite a number of you that have been actively reminding me that you're there. And I want to thank you very much because it has in the past kept me living, and it is still currently keeping me living. I am wishing the absolute very best for all of you. Our hearts are together. I'm going to conclude this video with a little bit of a personal revealing, a personal sharing, and at the same time, an example of the mechanics of astrology and the birth chart. Okay? So we've all heard of the ascendant. Many of us are asking each other, what's your sun, moon, and rising sign? I'm going to tell you about the ascendant. The ascendant is specifically how we instinctually interpret the information in our surrounding environment. It's how we instinctually receive the information of our surrounding environment. Now, the ascendant or the rising sign, as you may have heard or know, also has to do with how we come across to others at first. It's almost like the ascendant is the outermost layer of the bubble of the field of our consciousness. So this is what meets the outside, instinctually reacts to that information coming from the environment, and how we are oftentimes seen at first by others when they are getting to know us. But what I'm going to share with you here is that the descendant, which is the 7th house cusp, also has so much to do with how we come across to others. In fact, the descendant, I think, has much more to do with how we come across to others than the ascendant does, because the descendant is our persona. It's our persona. There's a relationship between how we instinctually react to the information we're receiving from our environment and the persona that we create to relate to what's outside of us. That's the 7th house cusp. Okay? So the persona also serves a function. Not only is it relating with others, it is also a protection. So that way we can relate with others. Now, my personal share is that I am a Cancer rising. I am a Cancer ascendant. I have a Jupiter-Chiron conjunction in Cancer. I have Ceres at the last degree of Cancer. I have a very aspected moon, including an opposition to Pluto and a trine to Neptune. I am an extremely, extremely emotionally sensitive soul. People talk about empathy. The type of empathy that I was given, was born to be, is something that I struggle with, is very challenging, and is nearly incomprehensible, I think, to most people. Whoever enters my field, whether it be a group or a person, I not only feel that person's emotions, I feel every single damn layer, every single level, where it's coming from, what they're thinking, how it's connected to their thoughts. I don't want to feel it. I don't ask for it. I feel it all here in my stomach at all times. And I've dealt with stomach issues, sickness, tightness, physical struggles my entire life, and still. Okay? Now my persona is Capricorn. I have Capricorn on the descendant. I know how I come off. Listen to my tone. Look at my expression. Hard ass. Military vet. Grown up. Tough as nails. Uncaring. Unempathetic. And I just want to let you know, that's my persona. That's what I formed as a protection to survive my life. Even presently, this is how I survive my life. And I want to let you know that I feel a lot of what goes out there in the world. I even strangely feel y'all. I feel my audience. I feel the collective. I do feel the collective, Moon, Trine, and Neptune. And a lot of us do. Hopefully these videos are helping to validate other souls with similar sensitivities. That's what we can do, and our potential is our own healing journey where we struggle can become our medicine and inspiration to others. So this is quite consciously what I'm doing here. But I'm going to conclude this video with a request. Coming from this sensitivity, coming from my struggle. And that's where I began this video. That's where I thanked my regular viewers and supporters. I'm thanking you for bearing with me. My own emotions, my own sensitivities, my own moods, my own changing fluctuations, that is a huge chunk and percentage of my personal struggle, healing, and learning journey. And I am putting out a humble request. Please don't be upset with me. Please don't be upset with me that I have not put out a video when you wanted me to put the video out. Please do not be upset with me that I'm talking about the equinox the day after the equinox occurred instead of 2 weeks before the equinox happened. So I am humbly requesting and I am thanking you for bearing with me, for being a part of my own process of honoring my own healing journey, rate and pace of doing things. We are all interconnected. This is a challenging time collectively. I am right there with you. Thank you so much for being right there with me. One of the greatest gifts that you could give to me is to think about me and feel gratitude, love, appreciation in your heart. That's one of the greatest gifts. And I'm not asking you, please do this. But if you wanted to know a gift that you could give to me, that's a gift that you can give to me. And I am requesting that you please do not write to me an email thanking me. Please do not send me a Facebook message thanking me. please do not get on my community and write me a long message. Okay? I'm so regularly bombarded by these messages that I actually end up becoming very backed up and exhausted. And I appreciate what you're saying, but these messages are unhelpful for me. So I am requesting what's very helpful for me. Just please don't be upset. I'm putting out these videos. I haven't missed a single new or full moon for 10 years. Okay? I do have a level of stability, perseverance, even though I also have my struggles with instability and fluctuation simultaneously. Human beings are very complex. Thanks for hearing for my personal share. If you have a personal share that you'd like to give, if you've got burning questions about your life, join our next Q&A. This is how you can support me and I support you, and it works out really well. If you join my Q&A or my Astro School at my community, go to courses. You can view the Q&A archive, and you can look at many dozens of past Q&As that I've already held. The format, what we do, it's a very, very useful opportunity where I can personally check in with you, hopefully offer some words of support and advice that could bring a level of clarity that could make all the difference in your world, life, or experience. It's a great pleasure and honor to offer and pass back those reflections to share in this transmission today. I wish you the very best in your own personal healing journey, and until next time, take care.